What is up? What is going on, everybody? Off the Mic Sports Network here. We are almost all the way through week one of college football. Still have a couple games on Sunday, and then obviously Bill Belichick's debut on Monday. But wanted to give some thoughts into really the two biggest games of the day were games inside the top 10, pitting non-conference opponents. You obviously had 1 versus 3 in Texas and Ohio State facing off in that early noon Eastern game, and then obviously the late 7:30 Eastern kick was number 9 LSU and number 4 Clemson. I only got one of these two games right. I took Ohio State to win the game against Texas. A lot of people seem to be on Texas for that one, and then I took Clemson at home against LSU, and to my shock, LSU won. First win under Brian Kelly, the first win since COVID in an opening game. So that's a big deal for that LSU program. But I wanted to talk about quarterback play because going into the season, really three of the biggest favorites really walking in were Cade Klubnik, the quarterback at Clemson, Garrett Nussmeier, the quarterback at LSU, and then obviously Arch Manning, quarterback at Texas. We talked about it. I did about a 30-minute live stream right after it. There's some questions moving forward about Arch Manning. He'll get better, but definitely a lot of the doubts that we should have, expected about Arch Manning definitely came to fruition. And listen, he faced a really good defense, and, he wasn't really ready for it. And I think he's not as far along as everybody expects. And I think he will stay another year in college. But I want to, kind of spin this a different direction because I think we've kind of not talked enough about Garrett Nussmeier. One of my buddies, Danny Udoff, you guys see on this channel, he's been big on Garrett Nussmeier since last year. And I love this kid's story. Garrett Nussmeier is the son of Doug Nussmeier, who's been a quarterback coach around the NFL. I think he's going to be calling plays for the Saints this year, which is interesting. So he's bounced around the league, quarterback coach, quarterback guru, through a bunch of different jobs, college and pro. And Garrett, did his time at LSU, sitting behind, really around the Joe Burrow years and then the Jaden Daniels years and the Max Johnson years, like through Ed Orgeron and now into Brian Kelly. Like he's been through it all. And he's got NFL pedigree, an NFL background, really an NFL prototype, much like Arch Manning, who's the son of Cooper Manning, the nephew of Peyton and Eli, the grandson of Archie Manning. So there's a lot of NFL pedigree here. And I think because of the notoriety of that last name, we've just anointed, Arch Manning to be this guy. And who knows, maybe he will turn into something. Like a lot of people have been bringing up Shedeur Sanders, and believe me, I got some other stuff on Shedeur Sanders with some of the Browns fans reacting like morons about Arch Manning's performance in the opening game. But Garrett Nussmeier, this guy's been good for a while, and he was in competition with Jaden Daniels, who ultimately ended up winning the Heisman Trophy. There's a reason why he came back. Like it wasn't a perfect season last year for LSU. Their defense is a lot better, and you saw in that game in a hostile environment, when they hadn't won a opening game in 5 years now, I think. He goes 28-38 for 230 and a touchdown, and he made some big time plays. One touchdown got peeled. Like, listen, LSU should have won by 2 touchdowns. They got screwed. They got absolutely freaking screwed. With a touchdown. I think it was either early in the fourth quarter or it was late in the third, where it looked like the wide receiver caught a touchdown, or actually it was initially ruled out at the 1. Then upon every replay, it looked like he caught it, but the replay booth deemed that he didn't complete the process of the catch. Garrett Nussmeier could have thrown for closer to 300 yards in this game and had 2 touchdowns, and LSU probably wins convincingly because their defense played so freaking good and made Cade Klubnik look stupid. But my point here is everything that we've wanted for the entire offseason for Arch Manning to be, and what some people foolishly expected him to be in the opening game against Ohio State, that's everything that Garrett Nussmeier is. And Garrett Nussmeier went through an entire season last year starting. As of right now, I think Garrett Nussmeier is absolutely in the thick of things, and I think he's probably the early favorite after 1 week. He's obviously going to have to run the gauntlet in the SEC, um, but he's he's going to be at the top of the list for the Heisman, and I think he's going to be potentially a candidate for the number one pick. He's got good size, he's got good arm talent. He's got a great. I mean, listen, as much as I don't like Brian Kelly could coach, man. Like he can coach, and I think this LSU team, like this could shape up to be another magical season, much like 2019 with Joe Burrow. I'm not saying that Garrett Nussmeier is Joe Burrow in any, but I think because of the NFL pedigree, like with his dad and, a lot of just the nature around him and, the fact that like Arch Manning, he stayed when he could have very easily walked out the door. And I remember seeing Garrett Nussmeier at SEC Media Days last year talking about why he wanted to stay and be loyal to LSU. And it was really powerful to me because he just talked about like how it was important for him to grow in one system. And, it's just to me, it was really a powerful thing to see a guy really, stay in the program for so long and then get back-to-back years of starting. I'm really impressed with this young man. And it's easy to see why he's on the radar of a lot of NFL scouts. I'm glad he came back. This was a big opportunity for him because, like I said, when I did that 30-minute post reaction to Texas Ohio State, I said the door is open for the winner of whoever the quarterback is on the winning side of LSU Clemson. And based off what I even saw during that game, even if Clemson had come back to win, Garrett Nussmeier looked like the better quarterback. He looked like the better quarterback. He looked more composed. He wasn't running for his life. That helps that his offensive line did a good job and his receivers helped him out. He's got a great running back in Durham. And, listen, for whatever reason, man, LSU, everything and they had a bad end of the first half. For whatever reason, everything that fell them the last few years in season opening games didn't happen in this one. And a lot of it has to do because of quarterback play. And everybody kind of just walked into this weekend looking at, of these two top 10, showdowns in the non-conference with, SEC representation in them. Everybody was looking to that first game with, Arch Manning and Julian saying, everybody's like, oh, Arch Manning, like he's a Manning. He's going to be great. Like he's got the aura, as the kids, as I'm older. I hear the word aura a lot. And, I guess Arch has that aura. And it just didn't show up. It showed up in a couple of blinks near the end of that game, but really it was Garrett Nussmeier. Like, yeah, they only scored 17 points, but like I said, they got robbed of a touchdown because of replay. Could have easily had 2 touchdowns, close to 300 yards. He was great, and he made some really, really impressive throws throughout that game. And it's just, NFL pedigree, stayed at the same program for a long period of time, SEC school. I think Garrett Nussmeier is everything that we kind of expected or wanted out of Arch Manning. And who knows, maybe this becomes a tighter race later in the season. I don't think LSU and Texas play each other this year, if I'm not mistaken. So we won't get to see that unless they face off in the SEC championship. But yeah, LSU looks like to be potentially, I mean, even though we still have to go through the SEC season, LSU looks like a national championship contender, a playoff contender, and, Garrett Nussmeier, number 1 pick and Heisman contender. So it's going to be interesting to see how the rest of the season go. But I had that thought in my mind, and I was like, man, I think we were talking about the wrong SEC quarterback with NFL pedigree in his family. So credit to Garrett Nussmeier, credit to LSU. Great job with them. They'll have to progress through the season. Like, they got Florida in a couple of weeks. That's going to be a hell of a game in September. They obviously get the Alabama game. We'll see where Alabama is after that disaster that happened in Tallahassee on Saturday afternoon. But yeah, more college football content coming here on the channel. Thanks so much, everybody, for subscribing and watching. I'll see you guys soon. Bye-bye.